Oh boy. Straight. Beer. What's going on, everybody? Give an update. Today is Saturday, June something. No. On a personal note, I'm back on the road yet again. I drove until 2:30 this morning. Got to Florida. Cleaned up just like I had to do, and on my way back to Virginia. This is going to be the final trip. I'm not going to have to drive anywhere for a while, for a couple of weeks. Reminder, I can't see the chat I can't see the chat if you're commenting. But I wanted to talk real quick about all this stuff with these hidden subpoenas and gag orders with the Trump Department of Justice and the way the media is covering it. Because if you've been watching CNN, which you probably haven't, if you're my typical audience, you're probably not watching CNN. But CNN has been running this nonstop. It since the New York Times wrote the article. Now, I listened to, after I got tired of listening to podcasts yesterday, I listened to CNN last night. The Anderson Cooper show all talked about the DOJ, the Trump, as they're saying it. For anyone that doesn't know, there's new revelations from the New York Times yesterday, or the day before yesterday, I think, where they're saying that that Donald Trump, or that the Trump administration's DOJ, and that's the way they keep referencing it, so I'm going to say it. I like to reference it as the Department of Justice. It's America's Department of Justice, or it's supposed to. Doesn't seem like that lately. But they were doing an investigation into the Russia leaks during the first impeachment, is when they actually began it, before the first impeachment. But they were doing an investigation into the leaks. And a prosecutor with the Department of Justice in 2017 convened in a secret grand jury to get to basically subpoena Apple, to subpoena Apple to pull up 73 different phone numbers and the metadata for those 73 phone numbers, and also to pull up information regarding, I think it was 34 email addresses. And then they also put a gag order on it so that Apple could not speak out about it. They also went after a CNN writer, I believe, that was responsible for publishing information that was provided in these leaks. Now, the thing that I find crazy, and so some of the people that have at least been found, there's only 2 so far, except obviously there's more people, but only 2 people have been identified as being the subjects of these hidden subpoenas from the Department of Justice, which were Eric Swalwell, the lawmaker from, hold on, I'm switching lanes. Sorry, I got to check my mirrors. The lawmaker from California, and Adam Schiff, and I believe he's from California as well. Shifty Shift, as Donald Trump likes to say. Now, and the reason for the subpoena, and there must have been some sort of evidence for the prosecutor to go to a grand jury and to have them sign off on all this, and then to get a judge to do it as well. But it seems like that doesn't matter to the media in the way they're reporting it. So there's nothing really. The only thing that we know right now is that these subpoenas went out. There were gag orders in place. The gag orders were renewed each and every year from 2017. They were renewed in 2018. They were renewed in 2019. And get this, they were also renewed in 2020. And the gag order for the personnel files for the CNN contributor, the CNN author, they were renewed by the Biden administration DOJ, which is kind of interesting, although CNN is trying not to mention that because then it kind of takes away from their narrative. But the way CNN is reporting this, so yesterday on the Anderson Cooper show, they talked about it ad nauseum. And then yesterday on the Don Lemon show, which we had some guest hosts there because Don Lemon's off on a parade or something, And so he wasn't in, and it had some commentator, but she was all over it, talking all about this, talking about how some people are calling it Watergate 2.0, which is kind of silly because they're the only ones who are calling it Watergate 2.0. And I think that they're trying to get it titled, as such. You had a bunch of people from the Mueller's report, investigators and DOJ officials that are no longer in office, that came on as commentators and were talking about how this is worse than anything that could possibly be imagined. And yes, these are very common, but they're not common on Congress people. And then they're like, well, sometimes there's investigations into Congress people that people don't know about. But it goes on and on, going back and forth. But the thing that's amazing is now I listen to Fox News, commentary all morning, no mention of it whatsoever. And then I listen to CNN for the past hour or so, and they are basically playing this on repeat. They're only talking about this. They're pushing this agenda. They're pushing, how Donald Trump said he was going to investigate these leaks. But the thing that's really funny when you listen to the coverage from CNN is they're saying that Donald Trump's DOJ, and they keep saying that, under the direct leadership of Donald Trump, Bill Barr opened this investigation, which is incorrect. It was actually opened under Sessions. And then continued under even the new attorney general, who signed the gag order for the CNN office. And I forgot who it is. But they just keep on going and going and going with this false narrative that there's nothing, they're not looking for anything, that this was just a way for the Trump administration basically to oversee what his political opponents were talking about. They keep talking about like an enemies list, kind of like Nixon did, except they're saying, well, Nixon had an enemies list, but but he hid it. And they're saying Donald Trump had an enemies list and he went out of his way to talk about it. And then they play all these clips of Adam Schiff, and they play all these clips of Bill Barr, bumbling during a Senate hearing, talking about how that's the thing that's the funniest thing, because we watched the FBI hearing the other day with Christopher Wray, and they're making fun of Bill Barr for not answering any direct questions and skirting around answers. And it's so, the way the media reports things now, or just doesn't, like this is an attack on both mainstream media outlets. Fox News is just not touching it. They're not talking about it really at all. I haven't heard them mention it at all this morning. And CNN is playing it on repeat again because it takes the focus off of the Biden administration's blunders with the border and with the, and everything that Joe Biden is potentially saying during the G7 summit and all that stuff that he's doing, because pretty much every time he opens his mouth, he says something dumb that he won't remember in 20 minutes. So CNN is just playing it on complete and utter repeat over and over and over. They're not talking about anything else. They're just talking about this, and they're talking about how it's worse than what Nixon did and all this stuff, but they're not addressing the fact that they're not saying why these subpoenas were issued in the first place. And the fact is you don't get subpoenas by just pulling it out your ass and saying, hey, I want to go investigate these people. You typically need evidence to prove that there was some sort of wrongdoing, or at least to figure out more. You have to prove that something happened and that the people that you're trying to subpoena have something to do with what potentially happened. Now, this all has to do with the Russian hoax, which is kind of funny because CNN is referring to it as not a Russian hoax. But we all know, and I'm not even going into it, but it all has to do with leaks about certain information that, obviously Donald Trump has said numerous times on the record that he believed that Adam Schiff was the one who was releasing that information. And Adam Schiff was one of the targets of these subpoenas. The way the media is reporting it, and when I say media in this instance, I'm talking about CNN, because Fox News is not reporting it at all. And I'm not listening to MSNBC in the truck, so the only thing I can reference is CNN. The way CNN is reporting this, they're not reporting on the fact that we had national security leaks of confidential and international, secret information that was released to the press. They're not addressing the fact that we had huge national security breaches. They're only talking about the fact that Donald Trump took the unprecedented step to go after Congress people who he perceived and who apparently the Department of Justice also perceived were doing something incredibly wrong. And the way the media, I encourage you guys all, I know it'll make you nauseous and you'll probably throw up in your mouth a little bit, but go watch CNN's commentary, because it's if you actually know, shit, you don't even need to know it, because you're gonna ask the question, wait, why were the subpoenas issued in the first place? They're not talking about it. In any time it comes up, they're like, well, there could be something behind this, but that doesn't justify looking into a sitting congressperson, which is insane. Because if you believe that congressperson is is breaking his oath and leaking national security information to the members of the media during an impeachment trial, during all the same stuff that happened in 2018 after the first impeachment trial, and then again during the second impeachment trial, all these wiretaps and that we're collecting all the not wiretaps rather, but all these subpoenas that we're collecting all the metadata for these 73 phone numbers, they were all active for the past 3 years. The only reason they found out is because for these 73 numbers with Apple, when right before the inauguration, the DOJ did not renew the gag order. For 3 years previously, they renewed order. So shortly after, in May, actually, last month, Apple sent a bland email out to these 73 phone numbers, or the account holders for these phone numbers, and said, "Hey, just so you know, you were the subject of the gag order. Your metadata has been shared, for your phone number and your email has been shared with the Department of Justice." Again, it's a routine thing. It happens all the time. Hell, there's probably some of you that have subpoenas on your phones, based on radical stuff that may not have been said. It's insane. Like the way the media is covering it is there's no better example of the one-sidedness of mainstream media right now, and on both sides. And this is one of the big reasons why Citizen Stringer and what we're building is so important. Because if you look at the conservative media outlets, they're just not covering it. Like if I was, again, and I always say this, if I was in charge of Fox News, I'd be talking about this nonstop and how this is a great thing, and how Donald Trump he was actually going after the swamp. He was trying to hold people accountable that were leaking national security data. And he was investigating those leaks as he promised he said he would. Instead, Fox News just pretending like it's not happening, and they're talking all about coronavirus, and they're talking about the G7 summit, and they're talking about, this potential meeting with Putin in a couple of days. And they're making jokes. They're not even talking about the fact that we have this thing, and here's the problem with it. If they don't come out and be honest and say, okay, this is what is going on, and this is why we are and this is why these subpoenas were issued, and give the background for it, the only perception that anybody is going to get if they're trying to look into it is the narrative that CNN is pushing. And they're simply pushing, hey, this is the worst thing ever. They subpoenaed sitting Congress people on the Intelligence Committee, information. They're not talking about why. Literally, they're not talking about, that someone was leaking on the Intelligence Committee, actual private national security intelligence. Declassified material. They were released classified material to the media. They're not talking about that. The only thing they're saying is, oh, it's so awful. Donald Trump was investigating these Congress people. It's really, I mean, as soon as I started listening last night, I'm like, oh my gosh. I went live around midnight last night while I was still driving to Florida. And I'm like, you know what? I won't even bother. There's probably nobody on. But it's important for people to realize, welcome to Georgia. I'm done with Florida. I won't be back here for years and years and years. I hate this state. Yeah, it's insane, dude. It's really insane what's going on in this country, and the fact that the mainstream media can be so biased, and we know that. But this is the best example of how even right-wing media is just completely skewed. They're not even talking about this, and this is a time where They should be. They should be running this story just as much as CNN is. But and the reason why is because to get the actual narrative out, to talk about the reasons why President Trump would ask, or the Department of Justice, and nobody even knows if it had anything to do with these subpoenas anyway, nor if he even knew. Bill Barr came out yesterday and spoke to Politico and said he had no idea that this was even going on, which, I mean, in all fairness, I find that hard to believe that the acting attorney general, or the attorney general at the time, would not know that there was surveillance going on sitting U.S. Congress people, especially if it has to do with releasing classified data. You would think that he would know, but I mean, you got to hold him for what he says. He said he had no idea that this was even going on. Donald Trump has not put out a statement. To the best of my knowledge, I haven't checked my email because I get all the media releases from the Trump team. But it's mind blowing when you actually look at it from a media like newsworthiness. This shows why the conservative narrative is losing, because we don't have a news outlet big enough that actually just cares about reporting the truth. You have CNN, which is pushing lie after lie after lie, talking about how this is worse than Nixon, and at least Nixon, did, like, they're literally trying to say this is Watergate 2.0, and this is worse than Watergate, and worse than this, and worse than that, ignoring the fact that someone that we still do not know was releasing national security classified information. That's what's the most mind-boggling thing to me, as I sit here and I listen, and I get pissed, and then I calm down again, and then I get pissed, and then I calm down again, and then I was like, screw it, I'm just going to go live and rant for a minute, because nobody cares. Nobody cares. And there's nobody that's calling out Fox News and saying, hey, why aren't you covering this? This is a huge deal. If we want to fight, and we want to fight against these narratives that the left is putting out, we actually have to do it. You have to step up and do it. You have to be able to go out and say, hey, listen, yeah, there was subpoenas issued because they thought Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell were leaking classified information. And here's why. Granted, we don't know the why yet. We're going to find that out eventually. There was I forgot what it was, a Democratic congressperson that was saying that, screw the whole insurrection commission. They want a commission on this, which I think would be brilliant. They'll never do it. I can almost guarantee that if there is a commission on this, it'll be a showboat commission. None of the actual information will actually come out. None of the reasons why these subpoenas were issued in the first place, none of the evidence on why these subpoenas were granted in the first place will be issued. I can almost guarantee that. Because if they issued subpoenas on Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell, it's because they had dirt on both of them. And if they hold hearings, maybe they'll just be classified hearings, but if they hold these hearings, that information is going to come out. Now, the interesting thing about this is CNN just reported a few minutes ago that when this investigation was open, they knew that arrests were not going to be, again, CNN is full of shit. And they're saying the New York Times said this, but you guys know how I feel about the New York Times. I think they're worse than a pile of cow shit. I think a pile of cow crap has more integrity, journalistic integrity than the New York Times. But, it's, I guess the New York Times are reporting that when the investigators started this investigation into, the whole everything surrounding the subpoena thing, they knew there would not be any arrests, but they were trying to just figure out who was the one that was leaking the information. CNN even made a comment earlier saying, well, there's one thing to go after Congress people, even though that's never been done, which is a bullshit lie, because it has, but they're saying it's a whole other thing to go after their families. Why would they go after their family phone numbers, even a child's phone number, except they're not saying who these people are. They're saying Adam Schiff apparently said that it was some of his personal staffers, so meaning not his professional staffers, but his personal staffers. Who do you think would leak the information? If anyone was going to leak information, it wouldn't be Schiff directly calling CNN. It would be a staffer. It would be a family member, someone that he entrusted to leak classified information. I mean, it's just so weird the way that the media, it's not even weird. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. It's so frustrating the fact that you have a propaganda network like CNN that's going out and just reporting flat out lies or half truths. Let's not even say lies. Let's say half truths because subpoenas were issued. And yes, apparently Eric Swalwell and Adam Schiff were at least two of the 73 targets of those subpoenas. But they're not saying why. They're literally just saying, they're literally, like, when you listen to their commentary, listen to an hour-long program and hear how many times they actually say it's because of a classified, national security data being released. They're not saying it. They're saying, in an unprecedented step, new information was revealed that the Trump administration and the Department of Justice under Bill Barr had issued secret subpoenas over, subpoenaing Adam Schiff and Swalwell and 73 others, including a child. They're not saying why. And that's the biggest thing. And that's what has me that's what has me infuriated right now, is because I then go to Fox News and I'm like, okay, I expect them at this point to be like, okay, it's being issued. Yeah, this is great. It's great because it means that Donald Trump was following through with yet another promise, even though everyone says he never did it. He was trying to fix it, to cure the swamp, to clean this. He was trying to go after people that were leaking sensitive national security data, classified data, which is exactly what he said over and over and over that he was going to do. But instead, Fox News is talking about, pumpkins and flowers and unicorns and the border. I mean, granted, the border is a big deal. This is a national story. By Fox News not covering this story, it's giving CNN, MSNBC, NBC, ABC, everyone who's covering this story, it's them getting the audience. It's them covering it. And it's definitely, by no means is this a non-story. This is a big story, but it's a big story for a different reason than what the left media is pushing. It's a big story because it means that there was enough evidence for a grand jury to issue subpoenas against a sitting U.S. congressperson. Like, nobody is addressing that. They have all these legal commentators on. They have career prosecutors come on. They have ex-judges come on. They have Department of Justice officials come on, and not a single person has been like, holy shit, they actually had enough evidence to convene a grand jury and have the grand jury actually issue subpoenas to monitor the metadata of a sitting U.S. congressperson on the Intelligence Committee. Two of them. That's a huge deal, and everyone's oblivious to it. Nobody on CNN has mentioned it, and Fox News is just not covering it at all. And for anyone to say, "Oh, we don't need news, or we don't need another news organization that actually provides truth," well, I don't know what to tell you. Go watch Fox News right now. See what they're talking about. See if they're even going to spend any time on this. If I was in charge of that network, I'd be running this 24/7. I'd be calling people in and to say, okay, what would be needed to get a subpoena? Is a subpoena just issued because you think someone's doing something, or do you have to provide evidence? Do you have to provide proof that someone may be doing something? Because if they could just issue subpoenas for everybody, then we're probably all being wiretapped, which we are anyway. But you know what I mean? It's just mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. And this is the failures of media. And this is why we're, as conservatives, this is just another thing. Yeah, we have a huge border crisis going on. We have, horrible job numbers. We have, our inflation costs are through the roof. Our economy is tanking. The housing bubble is going to blow eventually, and it's going to screw over everybody. And this is the way they switch it off. You notice Kamala Harris was in the news twice this week for being an idiot, and then all of a sudden, no more talk on leftist news outlets. Yeah, now and on the right, that's all they're talking about. They're talking about the border. They're talking about Kamala Harris. All the same shit we've been hearing about, almost ignoring the fact that, hey, there's a huge news story here that we could get ahead of as conservatives if we push the true narrative. It's not even about pushing one side or over the other. All you have to do is provide full context of facts. You could still say, well, listen, it's really unheard of that they're going after Congress people this way, except it's not. And that's the funny thing is CNN was saying yesterday, oh, it's super unheard of that they go after Congress people and they have Department of Justice officials that come on and say, no, we actually, I mean, this happens all the time, but usually it's done for crimes. It's not done for this. And usually it's not targeting two separate members of the Intelligence Committee, and both of which, because you guys know, Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell were huge on the Trump impeachment for both the first and second impeachment trials of Donald Trump. They were huge players in this. And it's worth mentioning, too, that they were being, these subpoenas and gag orders were in effect during those impeachment trials. This went into effect because all this information was being leaked during the first impeachment. Nobody cares. It's like our national security. It doesn't matter anymore. I mean, if anyone doesn't think this, even know what to say, because this should be huge. This should, this should be this is the best way to draw it out and get the viewer numbers, for a conservative news outlet. Because you just talk about this. You talk about you bring on experts and you provide the full context. That's all you have to do is just be honest about it. Because you have one network that's giving you half truths. They're not even telling you the full thing. News or any conservative news outlet or any reliable news organization, the only thing they have to do is be honest and say, hey, listen, yeah, there were subpoenas issued. Here are some of the reasons why those subpoenas may have been issued. Man, I sometimes, man, I wish I wish we were bigger. I wish I had, the ear of some incredibly rich, powerful person that would listen and be like, what? Like specifically at Fox News. Like right now, I wish I could just call up the CEO of Fox News and be like, what the F are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Cover this. This is a huge story. It's a chance for us to get the actual narrative out. But instead, they're going to report on it the same way they normally do. We break stories before Fox News 3 or 4 days ahead. It's me that sits in my house writing. It's April who sits in her house writing, and Billy who sits in her house writing. The three of us break stories, Fox News, before CNN, before the New York Times. We break news stories quicker than anybody. This is common sense, right? Everybody should be talking about it. Like, I don't know. I can't see. What I would ask all of you guys to do is go tag, go tweet at Fox News. Go tweet at Newsmax. And maybe, in all fairness, maybe Newsmax in this nonstop. I don't have that. They're not on the radio series, so I can't hear them. But go to Fox News and say, why aren't you covering this? This is a story. Get the real story out. Stop being a shitty fucking, excuse my language, shitty news network. Get the real story out. Just be honest for once. Be honest. And it's so easy. It's mind-blowing to think that I'm some dude sitting in my truck driving, and I understand that they don't even need to do anything. All they have to do is provide context and be honest about what is actually going on, why were subpoenas potentially issued. Granted, we don't know, but you can give hypotheticals of why the subpoenas will be issued, because CNN is not. They're just saying, hey, these subpoenas were issued. So it's a way to control the whole narrative. It's so mind-blowing to me. It really is. Maybe it's just because I'm incredibly tired. I'm not sure, but I listened to it. I like, at one point I was gripping my steering wheel so hard. I'm like, what the hell? Like, why is it that the people that control mainstream media don't care? They just don't care. The people that are in charge of Fox News simply do not care about the news. CNN simply does not care about the news. I guess to me, the news is something different. The news to me is actually news. It's about getting the actual context out and getting the news out and informing people about what's really going on in our country. Nobody wants to do it. I'm so tired of the, where it's us versus them mentality, because we already have the us versus them mentality just in America in general. Elijah Schaffer was, and I'm not going to this extreme, but he was saying it's the GAE versus the USA. And this whole woke culture, and the leftists, and it's not even like, I mean, even moderate leftists or moderately left, or even some progressives now are starting to call out this whole woke theater that's going. But I mean, this us versus them thing is tiring on me, way more so than I thought it would, because I've been political for years. But on a national scale or a public scale, I've not really been political. And maybe now that I just listen to it so much, I used to listen to like Howard Stern and Jason Ellis and stuff like that when I would drive. Now it's just political podcasts, but Sirius or Fox News, CNN, CNBC. I just listen to as much news as I can, because this is what I do for a living. It's just frustrating. And sometimes, like, I wish I could just, like, again, have the ear of someone that actually, has the power to just be honest. That's all we need to do. And that's one of the reasons why building up Citizen Stringer. That's one of the reasons why we're building the app, because I want to provide just honest news. I don't give a shit whether it's a Democrat leaning point of view or a Republican leaning point of view. The only thing it should be an American leaning point of view. You know what I mean? It doesn't need to and that's the thing that pisses me off the most, is you have Fox News, who's on the right, you have CNN, who's on the left, and Fox News is really they're the biggest ones on the right. Nobody else is. And then when Fox News misses this opportunity to correct a narrative in advance, and it's not like they didn't have time. This has been going on since yesterday. Fox News will talk about it just for a second, and then they move on to something else. This should be leading. They should have experts talking about this. They should be beating into Americans' heads that this is a great thing, that this is just another check mark of one of the promises that Donald Trump said he was going to do. He was going to investigate the swamp and investigate these leaks and hold the people accountable that were committing crimes. I mean, isn't that what matters? They're going after insurrectionists like crazy. God, it's just so wrong, man. Just so wrong. It's very frustrating. Thank you. I saw one Venmo there for $10. Thank you so much, man. If anyone else wants to contribute to my rant, you can do so via the stars on Facebook, YouTube Super Chats, or if you go to ptnewsnetwork.com/support, we have the Venmo, the Cash Apps, the PayPal, credit card thing right there for you to do if you want to, say, give the big proverbial middle finger to social media and not allow them to make money off of my shows. That's preferred way, is to go to ptnewsnetwork.com/support. Yeah, that was a rant and a half, wasn't it? That was a good one. For anyone that's curious, I left Virginia yesterday morning at 8 o'clock. I went to Wilmington, North Carolina, dropped off my cargo trailer that's full of all, my mother's stuff, dropped it off at her house. Then I beelined it down to Port St. Lucie, Florida, where I finalized the cleaning out of our old house. My truck now is pretty full of stuff, and then I had to clean, so I had to clean up the old house and have it be done with. And I got to Port St. Lucie at 2:48 this morning. I didn't think it through because there's no furniture there. There's no beds, sofas, anything. So I slept on the floor in our old bedroom. And I haven't slept on the floor since I was a kid, I think. And I will never, ever do it again. I woke up this morning so sore, I barely could sleep. I was up, packing the rest of the stuff by 7 a.m. But I barely could get asleep because it's just uncomfortable sleeping on the concrete floor. And it is what it is. But my neck is pretty rough, but at least the house is cleaned out. All of our stuff, like the kids' Xbox, so they've been driving my wife nutty. So I've got the kids' Xbox in the truck, and some of the other stuff that we left behind on accident. And we're all done with Florida. You guys saw in the middle of the rant, I crossed into Georgia. I have about 9 hours, well, almost 10 hours left of driving. I likely will not make it the whole time because I only slept for 3.5 hours last night. But the problem, here's something you guys may not know. So I have a 2021 Chevrolet Trail Boss, the Silverado pickup truck. And the truck has this auto shut-off shit, which is super annoying. So I a little bit ago, before I did the rant, pulled over at a rest stop right on the Florida-Georgia line there to try to just get some shut-eye because I knew I was going to get tired eventually. I'm not tired right now, but I knew I was going to. And made it about 10 minutes, and then my truck shut off because it's got this auto idle shut off thing where it shuts the truck off, and there's no way to turn it back on except for so basically it does that every 10 minutes where the truck completely shuts off, and there's nothing I can do about it. And if you're familiar with Florida, it's 92 degrees right now. So yeah, so much fun. So I'm back on the road now. I just decided that there's no way in hell I could sleep in 92-degree weather in the truck. So I could get a hotel, but I figured whatever, I'll just drive for a little bit till I get too tired to drive, and then I'll just grab a hotel for the day or the evening or whatever. But man, this is the most complex move we've ever done. This is the 5th trip from either Florida to Virginia or from Virginia to Florida that I've made. Luckily this is the last one, but like I said, I bought my truck 2 weeks ago, right? And I've already got 6,700 miles on it. It's freaking insane. But you know what? It's a better environment for my family, better environment for me, for what I do for work. Being close to DC to be able to go and cover events and to, eventually with the whole Citizen Stringer thing, to be able to help grow that and get some office space and podcast studios and all that stuff. Those are all in the forecast. But yeah, man, I wish I could see the comments so I could answer some questions, but it's probably better that I don't, so I'm not staring at it. But yeah, it's been something else. This whole trip, this whole move, it's been a lot. On my wife too. Like I said yesterday, with all the problems that we had with the new house, with the leaky pipes and the flooding basements and the leaky fridge and the dishwasher not working and the sink in the kitchen overflowing, and it's just been problem after problem. And even before we even moved in, thousands of dead bees all over the place, the basement flooding, bears. There's been so many issues, that it seems like everything's gone. The plumber was there yesterday and repaired all of the pipes in the 2 bathrooms, and now they're not leaking anymore. Still got to figure out why the basement is flooding when it rains, because it doesn't appear that they're coming from the outside drain. But I'll have to wait until we get a torrential downpour. There's been no bear sightings since we moved in, probably because we have the 2 pit bulls. The only thing we haven't been able to figure out yet, and we spoke to the lady that owns the house, and she's going to bring in an AC guy, is because there's definitely something going on with the AC where it's not circulating the air it's supposed to throughout the house. So the downstairs is 50 degrees, and the upstairs is 90. And it's just not circulating the air. If you go by the vents downstairs, they are cranking out air. And if you go to the vents even directly above the AC unit, the air pusher, even if you go to that vent, it's barely pushing out air. It's still cold air, but it just can't keep up with the heat. So they're calling in some AC unit person to come and for one, look at the machine, and then two, because it's an older unit, and then tell us, how to maintain it. because I like to know all that stuff anyway. Because I'm one of the guys the type of person that likes to try to fix stuff myself. So, and I told the lady that owns the house that. So I said, if the AC guy is coming, I'd like to watch to see what he's doing. So that way I know, so I have a good understanding of what it is. But my poor wife has been dealing with it all, because I've been doing all the moves and all that. But she's doing good. She's happy. She loves it up there. She misses her friends, but she loves the woods. They went and hiked up some mountain this morning. The kids both were super happy. One of them broke out in hives though because he's allergic to the world. But yeah, it's been a trip. So I'm excited to get home. I'm excited to get back to a regular schedule finally because there's no more. We're doing the camping trip, I think, the last week of June. But outside of that, I'm just going to keep working on the book. Monday, I got to send out all these mystery boxes and catch up. I think there's 3 or 4 people that are missing sweatshirts. I got to look at those orders. But that's my task for Monday. And then, tomorrow I'll probably just sleep all day and then mow the lawn when I finally do get up. Because I love mowing the lawn too. It's therapy. Anyway. But yeah, again, I can't see if you guys are doing super chats or anything during the show. I hope you are. This, business is expensive, and with this new app that we're building, oh my goodness, it's going to be amazing. You guys are going to be like, oh my, now I see why Steve was so excited about it. And we think we're going to be able to get it to market sooner than we originally thought. I think we may be able to have it released right in August, at least the initial deployment of it. So that's going to be awesome because it'll allow you guys, like the initial focus of it, it's going to allow you guys to contribute more to the show, not financially, but through your voice, your words. We'll be able to ask questions and you guys can make, videos to answer those questions, or you guys can cover the news and in your area, or even rant about politics or rant about stuff, just kind of think about like TikToks, but for, TikTok, Snapchat, politics all combined in one. That's kind of, one segment of the app. There's a lot of segments to it, but that's the one imperative one. Plus, we're going to have live giveaway capabilities. The advertising stuff is way better for us too. So kind of allows us, and plus there's live chats and all that good stuff. All the people that like that, you'll have the ability to do all that as well. So it's quite amazing. It's quite expensive, but it's to me it's worth it because it's just a next logical step for what we're trying to do, and just be a truly independent news source that just cares about reporting news. It's not, again, I don't like to say we're a conservative news outlet. I don't like that, and that's why we're rebranding as Citizen Stringer. I want to say we are a news outlet, and we, and we're just independent. We report on what is important to us, regardless of who the politicians, and regardless of what the politics are, and we will. So there's going to be, with the app too, Citizen Stringer, there's going to be 24/7 live programming on there. There's also going to be a 24/7 radio program on there, which will have all of our podcasts, all of the, the new podcasts that we're going to bring on, and all of that content on there as well. Because we have a big audience of truck drivers, and this has been something that's been asked for a while. Is can we do an audio only feed? So we're actually building that out, and we'll have a couple of trucking related shows probably on the radio side of it as well. So lots of big things coming in the future. But well, you guys heard my rant. I am tired of talking because, like I said, I gotta kind of yell. But yeah, I appreciate it. Appreciate everyone who's contributed. Thank you, whoever just sent that $20 Cash App. Thank you so much for that. I didn't see the message, and it scrolls way too quick for me to see it. But thank you so much. All that stuff really helps. It helps us, do what we do and keep being able to do this stuff. So I really appreciate it. We don't like to mention it too much, Because, well, it sucks. Look at the state of our country right now. So, we're fortunate. Myself, Freedom Flashpoint, Adam Scott, Quincy with The Reckoning. We're all fortunate to be able to do something we love and do something that we really care about, and it's because of you guys. So I gotta stop saying this, so I stop sounding all sappy at the end of these damn videos. But seriously, I appreciate all of you guys. If you will, do me a favor, share out this video, because I really think the actual rant portion of it is worth seeing for everybody. I think people need to get their shit together and start paying attention to what's going on in this country. Thank you for watching. I'll probably do another live feed later on, so just keep checking. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that bell and subscribe to all notifications. You're trying to fight this ban, the shadow ban that we have. Also, here's another thing too, with the app, you'll never have to worry about that. Once the app is out, we'll be sending push notifications before we even go live. You'll never miss the show. It'll be so annoying. You'll be like, man, he goes live all the time, but at least you'll know when we're actually live. You'll never have to wait and be like, oh shit, Steve's live, or Quincy's live, or Adam's live. You'll get push notifications right to it, and all of our shows will be on demand immediately after the show. Because right now we got to do it all, and if I'm not there, I can't do it. I get like this show on PTNN. This show is not going to be available until probably tomorrow when I get back, because I can't do it automatically. It's so stupid the way the system is set up, especially considering how much money I spend for the PTNN software. But anyway, more ranting. Love you guys. See you later. Bye.